Today has been another wonderful day. I really planned a lot of things, but I ended up doing one or two things, to which I'm really grateful for. And I had a live Q&A session with the people who took my video homestay course. And I was really touched. It was so wonderful to see how these people were interested, how the course has changed their lives. And they were asking very, very good questions. And it's an extension from what I talked about yesterday. It's so important at this uncertain time to feel really useful, to feel that you've got something to give. And that's really what keeps me going. So I want to thank you again for all those people who sent messages telling me that they were so touched by Coffee Break and they just stumbled upon it. And I don't know, I'm really touched. Thank you very much. It really means a lot to me. Today has been another garden day for me. It's really hot in Dubai, but it's so wonderful to sit outside and to enjoy the freedom of being able to be outside. And I got thinking about life as I normally do, and I think life is complex, we can really complicate it, or we can make it really simple. And it reminded me really of the time of the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait back in 1990, when we were stuck for about 8 months in lockdown. And after which I moved to England, I moved to London, and it was a completely blank new canvas for me. And I really didn't know what to do, what the future held, what am I supposed to do. And I just want to tell you about a little tip. One thing that you can do, you can use your imagination, you can use your creativity, and maybe it will unbox something that is really valuable to you. My first trip to England was when I was 14 years old. And we went through, during the summer, we stayed with an English family. Not only was that a huge cultural shock, but we had to adapt. But the point is, it was a tradition to keep a scrapbook. So a whole bunch of us, people who didn't know each other, went from Kuwait to England, stayed with English families during the summer for 3 months. And we had to adapt to life over there. And this is when I fell in love with England. I think one of the reasons also is that they encouraged us to be really free with our mind. And they encouraged us to start a scrapbook before scrapping was a thing. I think it was a thing in the last 10 years or so. So we had a scrapbook, which was just a plain book that you kept pictures of where you went, what did you do, tickets, things like that. And I still have that scrapbook. And I look at it, and it's so wonderful now in the digital age that you can look at things that you've printed out and things that you've done and remember those things. I have so many photographs on my digital iPhone that I don't know what am I going to do with them. But it was so nice to see that scrapbook and to look at those things and remember what I've been through. So in 1990, when I found myself back in England again, I asked myself what was I going to do? What was my life going to be about? Yeah, in England, Angela, they've been a thing for 60 years. But I noticed in America, it's a big thing to scrap, and you've got all this, books and paper that you can buy. But I picked it up a long time ago in England, and I loved it. And I still kind of have scrapbooks. I'm admitting, hand over heart, that I do, because it's really nice. It's really nice when I look back and I remember all these positive things. So when I was back in London after the Iraqi invasion, I really did not know what to do. What work will I go into? And I started a scrapbook. I thought, why not? Imagination is free. Imagination can really take you places. Imagination can free your mind, literally, because I had no options. So I started a scrapbook, and one of the things that we did when I was 14 years old is we went to an opera, to the theater for the first time. And I fell in love with opera. I've never watched, opera live. And I really loved it, and I, nurtured that interest. So in 1990, when I thought, what am I going to start? What life do I want? Because anything was possible. It was a blank canvas. And I started a scrapbook. And one of the things that I've put in my scrapbook was a picture of the Royal Opera House in England, in London. And I thought I want to go to opera. Of course, it was very expensive. I didn't have any money. We just came out of a war. I really stuck to essentials. It was a very tough time. Oh. And I just put that picture amongst other things. Anyway, time passed. I met a very good friend. He's still a very good friend of mine, Andrew. And Andrew suddenly showed up at the door and he said, I met Kim. And you two are going to hit it off and you're going to be friends. And I thought, okay. And Andrew left me with Kim. And Kim and I became really good friends to this day. When I was in England, we started the day together. We spoke every day. We helped each other out. But anyway, one of the pictures that I have put in the scrapbook before I met Kim was that I wanted to go to the opera. And what do you think Kim does? Kim was an opera singer. She worked also at the Opera House in London. So one of my big things that seemed unaffordable, that seems way beyond my knees, really happened. And because she worked at the Opera House, she gave me tickets. So I went to every rehearsal. I sat everywhere in the opera, down in the stalls or up in the stalls, in the circle, in the boxes, and whatever it is. And I watched all the operas to my heart's content for a few years. And my point is this. Sometimes you think something that is way beyond your reach, way beyond whatever you can achieve or manifest, but it isn't so. It can really happen because your brain had made a link between a visual and an idea, and you've dreamt it, you've imagined it, and why not? And I can tell you, all my life has been that magical, to be honest with you. So if you're worried about COVID, and if you're worried what the future is going to hold, really don't waste your time. Start a scrapbook, just put few pictures, few words, cut them out from magazines or whatever, and start a picture book, if you will, because that is what a scrapbook is, about the future. What do you want your future life to be? Who do you want in it? What do you see your lifestyle as? I mean as a rhythm. I don't mean as materialistic possessions, because that really doesn't matter when you have a war or whatever it is. And this is a thing that Kim and I had kept year after year. We would write a letter. We would thank God for whatever He gave us for the previous year. And we would write it in the present tense as though it has happened now. And we would fold the letter and we would keep it under a plant, because plant is growing, so that's like really growing energy. And every new year we would read the letter, the previous letter, and then we would write a new one. And I can honestly tell you that all my letters have come to manifest, have come to be, except one thing, which is having a home with a wooden floor. I haven't had that yet, but I'm not complaining because everything else has happened. The thing that I have imagined to be so expensive, so impossible, how am I going to do that, really happened. So if you're sweating, and I know a lot of my clients are, they're really nervous about what future are we going to build, well, start dreaming it now. Scientifically speaking, there is no past, present, and future. But this is how our brain operates. Our brain sees time as linear. But in your dream, do you remember having a dream where it was an epic and you've only spent, you've only dozed off for 10 minutes or so? So there are these magical things in life. Start a scrapbook, which I've kept throughout college, university, even now, because I can always, keep it private, tuck it under my bed, add things every day as I go on. Thank you guys for joining me. I'm really grateful that I see a lot of new people here today, and it's really wonderful to have you. And I've kept that book, and I still keep the traditional. I cut out pictures, I cut out things that I want to create. I think about them, I see them, visualize them before I go, fall asleep, when I go to bed. And if you project what you would like, what you envision your life to be, thinking that there is no limitation to your mind, because that is what imagination is, then the message will go into your mind, into your brain, and without you knowing, your brain will help you achieve that. I'm saying this because today in my live Q&A session, a lot of people were really worried about the future. You're spending a lot of energy being worried, but what about spending that energy creating something through images, through drawings perhaps, doodle a few things, stick them in your book, and that is the book that I pull out. Hey, thank you for joining me. Pull that book out, add more pictures in, write things in, start thinking about the future, because I promise you, this will pass. And stop listening to negative things or whatever it is. The mind is a terrible thing to waste. So instead of worrying about things, why don't you just get up and do something interesting that makes you feel good, and start your own scrapbook even as an adult, and put pictures or write things that you want to manifest, you want to make happen in your life. And that, believe me, will inspire you to keep going, because that is the image that your brain will remember, that your mind will remember. And before you know it, you will start manifesting that. I am very realistic, if you know me. Of course, there is reality within which we have to live, but there is also imagination. And I think creativity at this time can be very liberating. So if you're creative, if you're designing your own future, if you bother enough to start a scrapbook, put pictures in it, you will see the rewards. It seems to me that the universe is really magical. Miracles do happen every day if we allow them to happen, and they begin here. They begin in the mind. So be aware of how you spend your time, what kind of things you think about, and all I'm saying, like a river flowing, direct that flow towards where you want to go, towards things that make you feel better, make you feel happier. That's what you need, or you can do right now. Because time passes like that. If you invest in your imagination, in your creativity right now, it will pay off, because in a sense, without knowing, you're preparing yourself unconsciously for that future that you want to bring about. So in a sense, this has been really good, because it is allowing us the time to do what we really want to do, if we're aware of that, to release expectations, to release the pressure of having deadlines, having to go to work, be a certain way. Today, I'm really touched. I've heard so many people tell me, I'm expected to be that way, and I behave that way, and I find it really draining, and I'm not sure how to adapt to homestay and to be the person that I want to be. So I think this is really a positive thing that we're going through, because it's really allowing us to reset ourselves, to go back to what we feel rather than what we think, to go back to here, to the heart. One of my teachers and mentors always said, the answer is do anything that makes your heart smile. And believe me, that works in business as well as in personal life. Whatever makes your heart smile, definitely you need to invest a little bit of yourself in it. You need to invest a little bit of yourself into creating that future, imagining it, thinking about it, maybe putting in pictures, because a picture speaks 1,000 words. If you see that in front of you, to your brain, that seems logical, that seems possible, and it will be the opening of a lot of things to come into your life. Does that make sense, guys? Let me know. Hello. I'm really happy that I see a lot of new people here today. And I hope this has made sense to you. And basically my coffee break is about having a coffee break from homestay. Thanks, Angela. I know you would. To have the coffee break is to have a break from the false reality that we think, this is the end of the world. We're limited. We can't do this or that. I know it's more difficult for parents who've got children. But also, let me say, in another way, I'm seeing how a lot of my friends are adapting to that. They're coming up with creative games to keep their children busy, to bond with them, to be with them. And believe me, these would be the precious moments that maybe we're not going to have when we go back to normal. And have you thought what normal is? I mean, I don't know. What do you think of the normal that we had before? It was stressful. Everybody was like Speedy Gonzales running around doing things, getting somewhere. Nobody had the time to stop and smell the roses. And one of my clients said, should I feel guilty for actually loving a homestay and loving lockdown? Because she's actually enjoying herself. I heard it from another client that they love the fact that there's no deadline, there's no pressure, direct pressure on them to perform, to be in a certain way. I don't know, call me a romantic, but I'm really more pragmatic than romantic. I really believe you have two choices. You either sink or you make the best of a worse situation. And I don't know, maybe I'm slightly British in my attitude, but I really believe that. And I always ask myself, what is this situation showing me? Well, at the very least today, the message is it's showing you to be creative, to set the time aside, to be creative, to start to see in images and words, nothing detailed, no specifics. Really put down what is it that you like, that you envisage for yourself, that makes you feel happy, that makes your heart smile, and that is going to be your future if at least you begin to have an idea of what is it that you want in your future. Thank you guys. I feel really, I don't know what the word is, appreciative. I really appreciate you. I thank you for dropping in. I know there's lots going on online at the moment, so I'm extra happy that you've dropped in to be with me today. I wish you well, and remember, nothing and no one can take your imagination away. And if you couple that with pictures to document what is your vision for the future, believe me, you're halfway there.